So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Was in Hazbin Hotel and Had Harem. So let's start the series. The springs in the mattress groaned like a dying animal. Naruto lay on his back, arms folded behind his head, eyes tracing the patterns in the ceiling plaster, a continent of damp, a Rorschach test of failure. The quiet was a physical weight, and in its center throbbed the void where Kurama used to be. It wasn't just silent, it was absent. Like losing a sense. He'd been deaf once, as a child, to the village's hatred. This was worse, deaf to the very energy of his own soul. He flexed his fingers. No blue chakra glow. No prickling, hyper-awareness of the world's vibrations. He felt blunt, opaque. The fine-tuned instrument of his body was now just a sack of meat and bone in a room that smelled of old dust and something sweetly rotten, like flowers left in a sealed tomb. He sat up. The motion was too loud. In his world, a shinobi could move without sound, a whisper of controlled force. Here, his joints popped, the bed frame shrieked, his own breathing seemed clumsy. He stood and walked to the small, grimy window. The brick wall stared back, an inch from the glass. A single, phosphorescent moss grew in the crack, pulsing a sickly green. His own faint reflection ghosted over the bricks, pale, scarred, eyes dark with a fatigue no sleep in this place could cure. Think. Assess. Rule 1, no chakra. That meant no shadow clones for reconnaissance or labor. No Rasengan for defense. No enhanced strength, speed, or healing. He was reduced to the base physique of a man in his mid-30s who'd spent the last decade behind a desk. He was still strong, his muscles remembering their old training, but it was a mortal strength. It would break, it would tire, it would fail. Rule 2, this was hell. A place of punishment. The rules of reality were theatrical. The demons outside weren't like the summoned creatures of his world. They were souls, twisted by their sins into permanent, grotesque forms. Their powers seemed to come from different sources: personality, vice, sheer will. He'd seen no evidence of structured combat styles, just brutal, chaotic violence. Rule 3, he was in the Hazbin Hotel. A place run by a demon prince who believed in redemption with the fervor of a cult leader. Charlie Morningstar was either the most dangerous naif in existence, or a revolutionary. Or both. He was a potential ally. Or a liability. He needed to figure out which. Rule 4, there was no way home. He let that last one sit in his gut, a cold, hard stone. He didn't fight it. He let the despair wash over him, through him. He pictured Hinata's face the morning he left. She'd been mending one of Boruto's torn jackets, her fingers precise, her expression soft in the lamplight. She'd said, "Don't work too late." He'd grunted something, already mentally halfway to that locked drawer. The memory was a shard of glass in his heart. He'd walked away from that. He'd chosen the mystery over the mending. He was here because of a choice. Not an accident. Not a trick. A choice. The stone of despair settled. And beneath it, something else stirred. It was faint, a guttering candle compared to the bonfire of Kurama's rage he used to be able to summon, but it was his own. Anger. It was a clean, sharp anger. At the universe. At the paradox seal. At himself. But anger was fuel. It was the first spark in the dead fireplace of his spirit. A soft tap at the door. He didn't startle. He turned from the window, his body automatically settling into a neutral, ready stance, feet shoulder width, weight balanced, hands loose at his sides. Old habits. "Come in." The door opened just a crack. Charlie peered in, his face a picture of apologetic anxiety. Hi. Sorry to bother you. I realized I didn't bring you any towels. Or, well, anything." He held up a folded, thin gray towel and a small, waxy bar of soap that smelled vaguely of industrial cleaner. "It's not the Ritz, or even the slightly more affordable down the street Ritz. But it's clean." Naruto nodded. "Thanks." He took the items. Their hands brushed. Charlie's skin was cool, dry. Charlie lingered, shifting his weight. "Also, I know Vaggie was kind of intense. She's just protective. The last time we took someone in without vetting, they tried to steal the lobby chandelier to pawn it for emotional support weapons. It was a whole thing." "I'm not here to steal your chandelier," Naruto said, his voice flat. No, of course not. I didn't mean. I can just tell." Charlie's crimson eyes searched his face. "You're not like the others. The ones who come here, they're usually loud. With their sin. Or they're so broken they're just silent. You're quiet, but you're here. Present." He frowned, a tiny, thoughtful crease appearing between his brows. "It's like you're waiting for a mission briefing." The accuracy of the observation was unsettling. Naruto said nothing. Charlie took a deep breath, as if steeling himself. Can I ask, what's the last thing you remember? Before here? This was the test. How much to reveal? The truth was insane. A shinobi world? Chakra? Tailed beasts? It sounded like the delusion of a fractured mind. He needed credibility, not to be marked as a lunatic. He chose a sliver of truth, sanded smooth. I remember a fight. A final fight. It was big. World-ending big. We won. I remember thinking it was over. That we'd earned some peace. He looked down at the cheap soap in his hand. Then I found something. A relic from the fight. I was curious. I opened it. And then, I was in your alley. Charlie's expression was rapt, sympathetic. A relic? From a cosmic-level conflict? That actually makes a weird kind of sense. Hell is full of backwash from other dimensions, metaphysical runoff. Sometimes things, or people, get caught in the current and dumped here. He bit his lip. But for you to be you, a fully formed soul with memories, you must have been pulled. Not washed up. That seal was a doorway. And you walked through. The demon prince was sharper than he looked. Can I walk back? The pity returned to Charlie's eyes, deeper this time. No. Doors between realms, especially ones that powerful, they're like a heart valve. One way. The energy required to open it from this side, it's impossible. This dimension is a sinkhole. Gravity only goes one way. Down. Down. The word echoed. Naruto just nodded, absorbing the verdict. No surprise, only confirmation. So, he said, looking Charlie in the eye. This redemption. This way up. Tell me. It wasn't a plea. It was a demand for intel. Charlie seemed to hear the difference. He straightened up, a flicker of professional pride cutting through his nervousness. Right. Okay. The official doctrine, Heaven's doctrine, says redemption for sinners is impossible. Once you're in hell, you're here forever. Purification through extermination once a year, but never ascension. He spoke the last part with a bitter twist to his mouth. But I don't believe that. I think any soul can be redeemed if they truly, genuinely seek to better themselves, to atone, to become good. Good according to who? Naruto asked, the Hokage in him probing the loophole, the flaw in the philosophy. According to their own best self. To the compass of true compassion. Charlie's voice rose with passion. It's not about checking boxes for some celestial council. It's about the journey. The sincere effort. I believe if a soul reaches a genuine state of selfless goodness, heaven has to recognize it. The universe has to balance. It was a child's theology. Deeply felt, utterly unproven. It was the kind of belief that got people killed. Naruto had seen it before, in himself, at 16, believing he could talk Nagato out of genocide. He'd succeeded, but it had cost a city and his own mentor's life. Easy answers were never easy. And how many have made it? On this journey? Charlie's fervor dimmed. He looked at his perfectly polished shoes. Well, none yet. It's a new program. And it's hard. Old habits, especially sinful, destructive ones, they die hard. Really, really hard. Most of our guests leave after the first week. Or they get killed in turf wars. Or they just give up. He looked up, and the hope was back, a stubborn flame. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means we haven't found the right method, or the right soul, or it means you're wrong, Naruto said, not unkindly, but bluntly. Charlie flinched as if struck. For a moment, he looked terribly young and lost. Then he squared his thin shoulders. Maybe. But if I am, then this. He gestured around at the room, the hotel. Is all there is. Eternal suffering with occasional breaks for musical numbers. I have to believe there's more. I choose to believe it. The words echoed in the quiet room. I choose to believe it. Naruto understood that choice. He'd made it every day of his life, in the face of a village hatred, in the face of a friend's betrayal, in the face of a multiversal war. He'd chosen to believe in Sasuke. In peace. In a future where the son of the Hokage wasn't a weapon. Belief was a weapon too. The most dangerous one. He looked at Charlie, truly looked. He saw the shadows under those bright eyes, the strain in the perfect posture, the manic energy that barely covered a profound, whispering fear. This was a leader. A flawed, naive, potentially doomed leader. But a leader nonetheless. Okay, Naruto said again. Okay? Charlie echoed, confused. I'll stay. Not for your redemption. I don't think I'm a sinner. I think I'm a clerical error. He saw Charlie about to protest and held up a hand. But you're trying to change the system. I need to understand the system if I'm going to find a way to exist in it. Or break it. So I'll help. With the hotel. As a guest. Or a handyman. Whatever you need. Charlie's face went through a series of rapid transformations: shock, delight, suspicion, and finally, cautious optimism. You will? Just like that? Nothing's just like that, Naruto said, a ghost of his old, wry smile touching his lips. It felt strange on his face. I need food. I need to understand the geography. The power structures. Who's in charge? Who's dangerous? Consider this my orientation. Charlie beamed, the full, radiant, disarming smile. Orientation? Yes. I can do that. We have a pamphlet, but it's mostly pictures I drew. Okay, first, food. We have a kitchen. Well, it's mostly Nifty's domain. She's our maid. You'll meet her. She's small and cleans things, sometimes things that aren't dirty yet, but we have basics. Come on. He turned, practically bouncing out the door. Naruto followed, the towel and soap still in his hands. The hallway was long, lined with other doors, all shut. From behind one, he heard the sound of soft sobbing. From another, a radio playing static. This was the front line of Charlie's war, not with armies, but with despair itself. The kitchen was a disaster zone of cheerful chaos. A small cyclops maid in a red dress was scrubbing the ceiling with terrifying zeal, humming a tune that was several keys off. Ooh, a new stain! Hello, new stain! She chirped at a water spot. Vaggie was at a counter, sharpening a long, wicked-looking spear with methodical strokes. She didn't look up as they entered. Angel Dust was sprawled at the small table, smoking a long cigarette and scrolling through a hell phone. Back so soon, hero? Miss me? This is Naruto, Charlie announced, as if presenting a fascinating new artifact. He's going to be staying and helping out. Vaggie's sharpening paused for half a second. Angel blew a smoke ring. Helping with what? The overwhelming sense of impending failure? Angel! Charlie chastised, but without real heat. He bustled to the icebox. Let's see, we have some sort of meat-like product? And glowing eggs? They're probably fine. Naruto's stomach turned. The rules of this body included hunger, apparently, and thirst, and exhaustion. He was a prisoner and a failing machine. Anything that won't move or talk. Charlie emerged with a can. Beans! Definitely just beans. Probably. It was a meager, sad meal, eaten at the table while Angel watched with amused contempt and Vaggie watched with tactical assessment. Nifty tried to scrub his shoes while he ate. The beans tasted of salt and tin and a faint, metallic aftertaste that might have been blood. He ate them all. Fuel. As he ate, Charlie talked. A torrent of information about Pentagram City, the overlords who ruled districts through deals and fear. Power came from ownership of souls, he explained, a currency Naruto found viscerally horrifying, the annual extermination carried out by angelic warriors, the chaotic, crime-ridden streets. It was a society built on pain, addiction, and vanity, with no higher purpose than survival and fleeting pleasure. And where does the hotel fit in? Naruto asked, pushing the empty plate away. We're an anomaly, Vaggie said, finally speaking. She leaned her spear against the wall. A joke. Most overlords ignore us. Some find us amusing. A few think Charlie's a threat to the natural order, to their power base. If souls start believing they can get out, they stop being compliant customers. So you have enemies. We have everyone, Angel drawled. Including ourselves most days. Naruto absorbed it. A destabilizing element in a fragile, brutal ecosystem. He knew that role. He'd lived it. Later, after a shower in water that ran lukewarm and brown for the first minute, Naruto returned to his room. Charlie had given him a set of clean, simple clothes, dark pants, a gray shirt. They fit poorly, but they were clean. He sat on the bed again, the sounds of the hotel settling down for the night, a muffled argument, a door slamming, Charlie's optimistic voice trying to calm someone down. He reached into the pocket of his discarded, ruined pants. He'd emptied them earlier. A few coins from his world useless. A bent paperclip from his desk. A small, faded photograph, creased and soft at the edges. He hadn't even remembered carrying it. It was a picture of Team 7, taken after the war. They were all battered, covered in grime and bandages, but they were smiling. Sasuke's smile was small, barely there, but real. Sakura's was tearful and bright. Kakashi's eyes were crinkled. And he, Naruto, had his arms thrown around both of his teammates, his grin wide enough to split his face, no trace of the Hokage to be, just a boy who'd finally brought his friend home. He traced the edge of the photo with his thumb. The paper felt fragile. Ephemeral. A relic from a world that might as well be a dream. The hollow ache returned, but it was different now. It wasn't just loss. It was distance. An infinite, uncrossable distance. He had made his choice. The photo was a ghost. He was real. He was here. He placed the photograph under the thin pillow. Not for comfort. For reminder. This was what was at stake in his memory. This was the value of a soul. This was what he believed in, even if this universe said he didn't belong in heaven. He blew out the candle Charlie had left him. The switch on the wall didn't work. The room plunged into a near-perfect darkness, broken only by the faint, pulsating glow of the moss on the other side of the window. Naruto Uzumaki lay in the dark of hell, and began, methodically, to rebuild himself. Not as a shinobi. Not as a Hokage. But as a man. A man in a hostile land, with a puzzle to solve and a system to break. The first step was survival. The second was understanding. The third would present itself. He closed his eyes. He didn't dream of Konoha. He dreamed of a single, endless staircase leading up through the bruised and bleeding sky, and the sound of his own footsteps, slow and steady, on every step. The alarm in hell wasn't a sound. It was a smell. Naruto's eyes snapped open in the pitch black of his room to the scent of burning hair and ozone, sharp enough to coat the tongue. A distant, sustained scream tore through the muffled night noise of the city, then cut off with a wet finality. He was on his feet, back to the wall beside the window, before his conscious mind had fully registered the movement. Old reflexes in a new, unforgiving world. He waited. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic, mortal drum. No chakra to calm it, to spread its rhythm through his coils. Just the raw, animal thump. No enemy came. No attack on the hotel. The scream had been outside, a piece of the city's normal soundtrack. A reminder, the peace of this room was an illusion, a bubble. He dressed in the ill-fitting gray clothes. They were clean, at least. He tucked the photograph into an inner pocket, against his chest. He needed no other weapon. Not yet. The hotel in the early morning? The light never changed, only shifted from bruised twilight to a slightly brighter, sulphurous gloom. The lobby was empty. The grand space felt like a museum after hours. Dust motes danced in the light from a single, flickering sconce. He moved silently, his shinobi-trained feet finding the quiet spots on the floorboards by instinct. He began to map the place. Ground floor, lobby, Charlie's office, cluttered with binders and hand-drawn charts, a dusty ballroom, the kitchen, and a side door leading to a cramped, walled courtyard where nothing grew but a twisted, blackened thing that might have once been a tree. First floor, guest rooms, including his. The sobbing had stopped. The door with the radio static was slightly ajar. He peered in. The room was empty save for a small, portable radio on the floor, tuned to dead air. A test? A trap? He moved on. Second floor, more rooms, a storage closet full of broken furniture, and what looked like medieval torture devices repurposed as coat racks. At the end of the hall, a larger door. He pressed his ear to it. Silence. He tried the handle. Locked. See something you like, Snoop? He didn't jump. He turned, slow and deliberate. Angel Dust leaned against the wall a few feet away, having appeared without a sound. He was wearing a silk robe that was barely tied, a smirk playing on his face. His forearms were crossed in a display of casual, multi-limbed judgment. Just learning the layout, Naruto said, his voice level. Standard procedure in a new base. Base? Angel's smirk widened. Oh, honey, this ain't a base. It's a hospice for lost causes. The layout is front door, rooms, kitchen, front door again when you can't take Charlie's pep talks anymore. He pushed off the wall and sauntered closer. Up close, Naruto could see the fine cracks in the makeup around his eye, the faint, permanent tension in the set of his jaw beneath the performative ease. So, Charlie says you're not a sinner. That you just fell in. Like a dropped meatball. Something like that. Bullshit. The word was soft, almost friendly. Everyone here is a sinner, Blondie. It's the entry requirement. Maybe you just don't remember your sin. Or maybe it's so boring you've repressed it. But you're here. The machine doesn't make mistakes. One of his lower hands gestured in a vague, all-encompassing circle. This is the mistake. The cosmic oops. You belong here as much as any of us. Naruto met his gaze. The spider demon's eyes were a vibrant, poisonous pink, and they held a weary, cynical knowledge that felt ancient. What's your sin, then? Angel's laugh was a short, sharp bark. Oh, sweetie, I'm a walking, talking, multi-armed sin. Lust, gluttony, sloth, the whole colorful buffet. I indulged. I enjoyed. And now I get to enjoy an eternity of the same, but with more chainsaws and fewer pesky things like, oh, I don't know, self-respect. He leaned in, his scent of perfume and decay washing over Naruto. But you've got that righteous spine. That I fought the good fight slump. I'd bet my best stockings you're a pride case. The worst kind. The kind that thinks they're too good for hell. Before Naruto could answer, and what would he say, a door slammed downstairs, followed by Charlie's voice, high with strained cheer. Everyone! Good morning! Well, it's morning-ish. Group session in 10 minutes. Participation is strongly encouraged. Angel rolled all 4 of his eyes. Ugh! Moral inventory time. My favorite. He gave Naruto a final, appraising look. Try not to bore us to a second death, hero. The group session was held in the dusty ballroom. 5 chairs were arranged in a sad little circle. Charlie stood before them, a clipboard in hand, vibrating with nervous energy. Vaggie stood sentry by the door, her spear held upright, her single eye scanning the room like a security camera. Nifty was already there, scrubbing the leg of a chair with frantic dedication. Angel Dust slouched into a chair, looking profoundly bored. The 5th chair remained empty. Where's Husk? Charlie asked, a note of pleading in his voice. Where he always is, Angel muttered. Behind the bar he installed in his room, communing with the holy spirit of cheap booze. Charlie deflated for a second, then rallied. Okay. Well, we'll proceed. This is Naruto's first session, so let's review the goals. We're here to share, to support, to identify negative behavioral patterns and work, as a team, to reframe them towards a more positive, redemptive. Can I get a damn coffee before the sermon? A new voice grumbled from the doorway. A tall, feline demon with ragged wings and a permanent frown shuffled in. He wore a battered hat and a vest that smelled of old whiskey. He didn't look at anyone, just slumped into the empty chair, producing a flask from his vest pocket and taking a long pull. Husk! Wonderful! Charlie beamed. This is Naruto! Naruto, this is Husk, our resident bartender and hospitality expert. Husk grunted, not looking up. I mix drinks. I don't do hope. Right. Well, Charlie clapped his hands together. Let's start with a check-in. How is everyone feeling today? I'll go first. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. I had a dream last night that we all held hands and a ladder descended from a cloud. It was metaphorical. Silence. Angel examined his claws. I'm feeling like I need a drink. And a client. In that order. Husk took another swig. Peachy. Nifty paused her scrubbing. I'm feeling like there's dust in the corners, she squeaked, before diving under her chair with a tiny brush. All eyes turned to Naruto. Charlie looked at him with expectant, painful encouragement. Naruto looked around the circle. At the performative disinterest, the genuine despair, the manic avoidance, and the desperate, clinging hope in Charlie's eyes. This was the army for changing hell. It was laughable. It was tragic. He wasn't here for therapy. He was here for data. I'm feeling, he said, his voice cutting through the dusty quiet, like I need a job. Something concrete. You have a hotel. Things must break. Leak. Need cleaning or moving. I can do that. In return, I need information. About the city. Practical information. Not metaphors. Charlie blinked, thrown off his therapeutic script. A job? Well, of course. We encourage proactive contribution to the community. But the sharing circle is about inner work. The walls are bleeding in the West Wing hallway, Naruto stated. He'd seen it on his patrol, a slow, viscous ooze of dark red seeping from the baseboard. Is that a common structural issue here, or a spiritual one? If it's structural, I can try to fix it. If it's spiritual, knowing what sin causes wall bleeding might be useful intelligence. Husk let out a sound that was halfway between a cough and a laugh, quickly drowned by another pull from his flask. Vaggie's eye narrowed, but it was an assessment, not hostility. It's just wall bleeding. Happens when the building gets depressed. Ignore it. Or slap some wallpaper over it. See? Charlie said, recovering. That's a practical approach. But also, we could explore why the building is feeling depressed. Buildings reflect the emotional energy of their inhabitants. I'll fix the wall, Naruto said, standing up. The session was a waste of time. A performance. He needed to do something. To work with his hands, to solve a tangible problem. To remember what it felt like to have an effect on the world, however small. I'll need tools. And if possible, a map. Charlie looked crestfallen for a moment, then his natural optimism recalibrated. Tools! Yes. We have a toolbox. It's mostly full of, well, you'll see. Vaggie, can you show him? And a map. I have a tourist map. It has little pictures of all the major torture landmarks. As Naruto followed Vaggie out of the ballroom, he heard Angel's drawl behind him. Told you. Pride. Thinks he's too good for group therapy. Gonna fix hell with a wrench and a frown. The toolbox was a rusted metal crate containing a hammer with a cracked handle, a screwdriver bent at a 45-degree angle, a roll of duct tape that had fossilized, and a single, sad-looking wrench. It was less a toolkit and more a monument to frustration. Vaggie watched him sort through it, her arms crossed. "You're not going to last," she said, not unkindly, just stating a fact. "The hopeful ones never do. They either break or they run. Charlie's the only one too stupid to do either." Naruto picked up the bent screwdriver. He tested its weight. "How long have you been here? With him?" Her gaze softened, just a fraction. "Long enough. I was lost. He found me. Gave me a purpose when I had none. He sees something in people. Something even they don't see." She looked hard at Naruto. "I don't know what he sees in you. But if you hurt him, if you're a plant or you betray his trust, I won't need a fancy spear. I'll take you apart with my bare hands." Slowly. It was a real promise, delivered with a quiet, lethal certainty. Naruto respected it. He nodded. Understood. He spent the next 4 hours on the west wing hallway. The bleeding wall was cold to the touch, the blood thick and resinous. It smelled of copper and regret. He didn't have proper materials, so he improvised. He used the duct tape as a temporary seal, then scavenged some loose boards from the storage closet. With the broken hammer, he managed to nail a crude patch over the worst of it. The work was hard, clumsy. His muscles, unused to pure physical labor, burned. Sweat dripped into his eyes, stinging. It felt good. Real. As he worked, Husk wandered by, leaning against the wall, watching silently for a few minutes. "You're wasting your time," he finally said, his voice a low rasp. "The whole place is a metaphor. You patch a wall, the ceiling starts crying. Fix the pipes, the lights scream. Charlie's old man built this place as a joke. A fancy prison. It's not meant to be fixed." Naruto didn't look up from his hammering. "Everything can be fixed. Or at least understood." Husk snorted. "Spoken like someone who hasn't been here a century. Understanding hell doesn't make it better. It just makes the joke more depressing." He pushed off the wall. "If you're actually handy, the sink in my room drips. Drives me nuts." He shuffled away, leaving the offer, or the order, hanging. Later, filthy and tired, Naruto stood in the cramped courtyard under the false twilight. He held Charlie's tourist map. It was cartoonish, obscene, and not particularly helpful. But it gave him names. The V Tower, looming over the entertainment district. Carmine Territory, marked with little cartoon guns. The Overlord's Row. He looked up at the sky, the perpetual, swirling rust-colored clouds. No sun. No moon. No stars. No direction. His sense of direction, once as innate as breathing, was useless here. There was no magnetic pull, no subtle chakra currents to read. He was lost in every sense of the word. A shadow fell over him. He turned. Charlie stood in the doorway, holding 2 mugs. He looked tentative. "I brought you something. It's not tea. We call it Grim. It's hot and brown and vaguely stimulating." Naruto took the mug. The liquid inside was the color of mud and smelled of burnt roots. He took a sip. It was bitter, with an acidic aftertaste. It was awful. He drank more. "You fixed the wall," Charlie said, nodding toward the hotel. "It looks less sad." "It's a patch," Naruto said. "Not a fix." "Still, it's something." Charlie sipped his own Grim, making a slight face. "Vaggie thinks you're a risk. Angel thinks you're a prude. Husk thinks you're naive. Nifty likes you because you got dirt on the floor she can clean. And you?" Charlie looked at him, his crimson eyes oddly clear in the gloom. "I think you're in more pain than you show. And I think you're using work to avoid feeling it. Which is a very mortal coping mechanism. Most demons here just lean into their pain. They make a show of it. You're trying to wall yours off. Literally." The insight was, again, uncomfortably sharp. Naruto said nothing. "I'm not asking you to share in group," Charlie continued softly. "But this place, it eats loneliness. It feeds on isolation. That's its fuel. You can't outwork it forever." He gestured vaguely with his mug. "The information you wanted. Practical things. There's a market 3 blocks east. It's dangerous, but you can trade for better tools there. They take soul contracts, but also barter. Physical objects from other worlds sometimes have value. Knickknacks. Trinkets." Naruto thought of the coins in his pocket. The paperclip. Worthless. "What about work? Real work, outside the hotel?" Charlie's expression grew wary. "There's always work. For overlords. Running messages, collecting debts, intimidation, body disposal. It pays in protection or favor. Sometimes in actual currency. But it stains you. Every deal you make, every act of violence you commit for them, it wraps another chain around you. It makes the hole you're in deeper." He looked at Naruto carefully. Is that the kind of information you want? It's the kind I need, Naruto said. To know what not to do. Charlie studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Okay. Just be careful. The city doesn't give second chances. Only final ones. He went back inside, leaving Naruto alone in the courtyard with his bitter drink and his cartoon map. That night, the dream was different. Not a staircase, but a long, dark corridor in the Hokage residence. He was walking toward his study, but the hallway kept stretching, the door receding. From behind the door, he could hear the faint, desperate scratching of claws on wood. A familiar, guttural voice, choked and fading. Idiot, you never listen, this place, it'll scrape you out, leave you hollow. He woke with a gasp, his own fingernails digging into his palms. The phantom voice of Kurama echoed in the hollow of his soul. A warning from a ghost. He got up. He didn't light the candle. He stood in the dark, feeling the walls of the room. Not with his hands, but with his presence. The small, confined space. The locked door. The window to a brick wall. He had spent his life breaking out of boxes. The box of the village's hatred, the box of destiny, the box of endless war. Now he was in the ultimate box. A box labeled hell. He couldn't blast his way out. He couldn't talk his way out. Not yet. So he would do what he had always done when trapped. He would learn the box. He would study its seams, its weaknesses, its maker. And he would start, not with grand schemes or heroic declarations, but with a leaky sink in a bartender's room, and a dangerous market 3 blocks east. Naruto Uzumaki placed his forehead against the cool, slightly damp plaster of his cell. He closed his eyes and breathed. In. Out. The rhythm was his own. The plan was his own. The next step was his own. The scratching in the walls, he decided, was just the sound of the universe expecting him to give up. He was terrible at meeting expectations. The air in the market wasn't just foul, it was busy. It carried the greasy smoke of sizzling meat that wasn't, the cloying sweetness of overripe despair fruit, and the sharp, acidic tang of demonic sweat. It assaulted the senses not as a unified stench, but as a series of distinct, aggressive violations. Naruto moved through the throng with the quiet, deliberate pace of a predator who knew he was currently prey. Charlie's cartoon map was crumpled in his fist. 3 blocks east. The third block was a canyon of leaning, rickety stalls and cages stacked high with whimpering, multi-limbed things. Demons hawked their wares with a desperate glee that felt more dangerous than any battlefield taunt. Soul gems. Freshly harvested. Still warm with regret. Weapons. For the discerning exterminator or the ambitious upstart. Pleasures of the flesh. Or the non-flesh. We cater to all geometries of sin. Naruto kept his head down, his borrowed coat's collar turned up. He had exactly 3 items to trade, the bent paperclip, the 5 strange coins from his world, and a small, smooth stone he'd found in the hotel courtyard that seemed unusually warm. His goal was simple, born of a morning spent wrestling with Husk Sink, a wrench that wasn't a prop for a slapstick routine. A real tool. The tool stall was run by a massive, boar-like demon with one tusk broken off. His apron was stained with black fluids and rust. The wares spread before him were a graveyard of purpose, wrenches fused into abstract shapes, hammers with heads of weeping stone, saws with teeth that chattered and whined. Naruto stopped, letting his eyes scan without appearing too interested. The boar demon grunted, not looking up from polishing what looked like a sentient screwdriver that kept trying to worm out of his grip. Look or buy. No loitering. Loiterers become materials. I need a wrench, Naruto said, his voice flat. A simple one. For turning nuts. Not feeling them. The demon's small, red eyes flicked up. They assessed Naruto with a speed that was clinical. Fresh meat. Still has the stink of confusion on him. You're from the Freak Hotel. It wasn't a question. Naruto didn't confirm or deny. He placed one of his coins on the grimy counter. It was gold, stamped with the Leaf Village symbol. Will this cover it? The boar demon picked it up, bit it, and snorted. Human world metal. Pretty. Useless. No metaphysical weight. Might as well be spit. He tossed it back. It clattered to the ground. Naruto didn't move to pick it up. What else you got? He placed the warm stone next. The demon poked it with a thick, calloused finger. Fragment of a foundation stone. From a place that believed in things. Slight sentimental value. Could maybe trade it for a used bandage. He pushed it aside. Last chance? Naruto placed the bent paperclip. For a long moment, the demon just stared at it. Then, slowly, he reached out and picked it up. He held it to the sickly light, turning it. His expression didn't change, but a new tension entered his shoulders. Where did you get this? It was on my desk. It's a fastener. The demon murmured, almost to himself. From the world of making. Of binding things together. It's been shaped. By intention. Not grand intention. Mundane, daily intention. The intention to organize. He looked at Naruto with something akin to awe, or maybe disgust. This is a relic of a mind that sought order. Real, boring, domestic order. In hell, this is an artifact of a lost civilization. He closed his massive fist around it. What size wrench? The transaction was swift. Naruto walked away with a heavy, solid, perfectly functional steel wrench. It felt like a bar of anchor in his hand. A piece of reality. The demon had thrown in a rusted but serviceable screwdriver as a bonus, his eyes still fixed on the paperclip as if it were a holy relic. The victory was small, absurd, and profound. He had navigated a rule. He had understood, instinctively, a sliver of hell's economy. It wasn't about material, but about essence. The paperclip, a thing of pure, humble purpose, held more value than gold. He was turning to leave the market, the wrench a comforting weight in his inner pocket, when the crowd parted ahead with a sudden, fearful deference. A demoness walked through the opening, and the atmosphere changed. The desperate noise dimmed to a respectful, terrified murmur. She was tall, willowy, dressed in a sharp, pink and white suit that looked painted on. Her hair was sleek, her smile a brilliant, practiced slash of white. She moved with the languid, undeniable gravity of a shark. Two shorter, bulkier demons flanked her, their eyes hidden behind shaded glasses. One of her entourage, a shark-like demon, had a sinner by the throat, a cowering, lizard-like creature. The shark demon shook him like a ragdoll. The boss doesn't like late payments, Scales. She finds it tedious. Please. I have it. Next week. The deal, it went sour, a deal's a deal. The demoness sang, her voice a honeyed, melodic poison. She didn't even look at the debtor. Her eyes, hidden behind heart-shaped glasses, scanned the crowd as if looking for a more interesting snack. They landed, for a fraction of a second, on Naruto. He felt it, a cold, probing pressure, like a needle seeking a vein. Then her gaze slid away, uninterested. A nobody. Break a leg, sweetie. Literally. It'll remind you to hustle. The shark demon grinned and, with a sickening crack, bent the lizard demon's leg backwards at the knee. The scream was high, piercing, and quickly swallowed by the market's returning din as the entourage moved on, leaving the sinner writhing in a puddle of his own fear. Naruto's body had gone rigid. Every instinct screamed to move, to intervene, to act. His hand clenched around the wrench in his pocket. But the cold, logical part of his mind, the Hokage part, held him frozen. He had no power here. No authority. He was a ghost. Intervening would be suicide, and it would accomplish nothing but his own erasure. He watched, forced to be a spectator to casual, brutal evil in a way he had never been, not even in war. War had reasons, however twisted. This was commerce. He turned and melted back into the crowd, the taste of bile in his throat. The wrench in his pocket felt like a betrayal. Back at the hotel, Husk Sink was a stubborn, greasy puzzle. Naruto worked in silence, the bartender observing from his bed with one eye open, the other buried in the crook of his arm. You saw something, Husk muttered, his voice muffled by the blanket. Naruto didn't answer. He focused on the rusted coupling, applying steady pressure with his new wrench. Out in the market. You got that look? I just remembered why this place sucks look. Husk sat up, reaching for his ever-present flask. Let me guess. One of the big players. Velvet? Zestial? A woman. Pink and white. Hard glasses. Husk froze, the flask halfway to his lips. He lowered it slowly. Fuck. You saw her and lived to tell about it. She didn't see me. She sees everything, pal. If she didn't eat you, it's 'cause you're not on the menu. Today. He took a long drink. That's Carmilla Carmine's eldest. Or one of them. The worst one, some say. Rosie. She runs the cannibal colony. Sweet as pie and twice as deadly. Don't ever make a deal with her. Don't even make eye contact if you can help it. Cannibal colony? Naruto's voice was tight. Metaphorically. Mostly. She deals in consumption. Of reputation, of influence, of souls. She's an overlord. They own pieces of this city. And everyone in it. He gave Naruto a bleak look. Charlie's hotel is a gnat buzzing around their picnic. They'll sweat it when it gets annoying. Or when they get bored. Naruto finally loosened the coupling. A gout of brown, smelly water erupted, drenching his arm. He didn't flinch. He held the wrench steady, waiting for the pressure to die down. And what do you own, Husk? What's your piece? The question hung in the damp, sour air. Husk's expression closed off, a shutter slamming down. I own this room. This bottle. And a mountain of debt to someone a lot scarier than Rosie. That's it. That's the dream. He laid back down, turning his face to the wall. Fix the sink and get out. Naruto finished the job in silence. The drip was gone. A small, tangible fix. It felt hollow. He cleaned his tools in the courtyard. The sky hadn't changed. He was scrubbing rust from the wrench when Charlie found him. Vaggie said you went to the market. Charlie's voice was tinged with alarm. Are you okay? It's so dangerous. Did anyone try to, harvest your essence or anything? I'm fine, Naruto said, holding up the wrench. I got what I needed. Charlie's relief was palpable. Then he noticed Naruto's expression. The quiet, simmering fury that Naruto couldn't fully mask. But something happened. Naruto looked at him. The demon prince's face was so open, so unguarded. He lived in this world yet seemed insulated from its true, grinding horror. An overlord. Rosie. Broke a sinner's leg over a late payment. In the middle of the street. As a lesson. All the color drained from Charlie's face. The cheerful facade crumbled, revealing the weary, horrified prince beneath. Oh. Yes. She does that. It's her way. And that's just allowed? What's allowed? Charlie's voice was small. They have the power. They own souls. They make the rules in their territories. The only law is the deal you make. And if you break it. He wrapped his arms around himself. That's why the hotel has to work. It's the only alternative to that. To being forever under someone's heel, or becoming the heel yourself. You can't fight them? With what? Charlie's laugh was a brittle thing. Hope? A few reformed sinners? My father could. Maybe. But he doesn't care. This is the system. I'm trying to build a fire exit, not burn the building down. Naruto looked at the wrench in his hand. A tool for fixing. For applying precise pressure. Not for burning. He understood Charlie's position. It was sane. It was survival. But the image of the lizard demon's leg bending the wrong way wouldn't leave him. The sound of that crack. It was a sound that demanded a response. A response he wasn't currently capable of giving. That night, the dream returned. Not of hallways or stairs. He was back in the market. The lizard demon was on the ground, but it was Boruto's face looking up at him, twisted in pain and betrayal. Why are you just standing there? You're the Hokage. Do something! And Naruto tried to move, but his feet were fused to the street, made of the same cold, uncaring stone. He looked down at his hands. They were holding not a wrench, but a sheaf of peace treaties, the ink running in the acid rain. He woke with a gasp, his heart trying to batter its way out of his cage of ribs. He sat up, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. The room was pitch black. The silence was a taunt. He got up. He didn't light a candle. He went to the window, pressing his forehead against the cool, grimy glass. He could feel the phantom ache in his own leg, a sympathetic echo of a violence he'd witnessed. This was the true test. Not of his strength, but of his spirit. Could he witness this, day after day, and remain himself? Could he fix sinks and patch walls while the world outside broke bones and traded souls? The Naruto of his youth would have charged in, consequences be damned. The Hokage knew better. The Hokage understood systems, patience, the long game. But the man in the dark room, the man was adrift. The anger was still there, but it had nowhere to go. It was turning inward, a slow acid drip on his own resolve. He heard a faint, scuttling sound in the wall. Then a tiny, frantic voice squeaking in time with the scratching. Lost, no, too dark to bright, make it stop. It was the same voice from his dream. But it wasn't Kurama. It was smaller. More shattered. He knelt by the wall, pressing his ear to the plaster. Who's there? The scratching stopped. A terrified, hiccuping silence. Then, so faint he almost missed it. Gone. All gone. Scraped out. Just pieces. In the walls. What pieces? Who are you? A long pause. The voice, when it came, was a broken whisper of confusion. I was a deal. A bad one. She took the shiny bits. The memories. The me bits. Left the scared bits. In the walls. A soft, pathetic sob. Can't put them back together. Glue is all gone. The horror of it settled into Naruto's bones, colder than any fear of physical violence. This wasn't just punishment. This was dismantling. A soul, taken apart, its useful pieces harvested, its terrified consciousness left to echo in the architecture of hell. Rosie. Or someone like her. This was the currency. This was the system Charlie was up against. Naruto sat back on his heels, his head swimming. The hollow in his chest, Kurama's absence, ached with a new, sharp sympathy. He had lost a companion. This voice in the wall had lost itself. I can't put you back together, he said to the wall, his own voice quiet, raw. I don't know how. Just talk, the voice whimpered. The quiet, it gets so loud. So Naruto talked. He didn't share his pain. He didn't tell his story. He described, in simple, precise terms, how to fix a sink. The steps. The feel of the wrench. The resistance of the rust. The victory of the water stopping. He talked about the weight of a good tool. The smell of dust and old wood in the storage closet. The exact, ridiculous shape of the stain Nifty was currently obsessed with on the third-floor landing. He talked about mundane things. About fixing. About small, tangible orders imposed on chaos. The scratching didn't return. The terrified whispers stopped. There was only the sound of his own voice, a low, steady murmur in the dark, holding back the silence for one fractured, invisible thing. He didn't know if it helped. He didn't know if the voice was even real, or just a manifestation of the hotel's despair. It didn't matter. When his throat grew hoarse, he stopped. He sat there in the dark, his back against the wall where the scared bits lived. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like a Hokage. He felt like a man in a dark room, holding a line against the void with nothing but his own, ordinary voice. It was the smallest stand he had ever made. But it was a stand. And for now, in the terrible, scraping economy of hell, it was the only currency he had that felt real.